We're at the Capitol with Representative Danny Morgan. Representative Morgan, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you all.
You know, interesting things up here. You just had a celebration, really, on the floor for a very special group. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, the legislature each year takes the opportunity to recognize the 45th Division that originated in Oklahoma. In fact, originated in Lincoln County. The 45th has a great history in central Oklahoma, particularly in Lincoln County, and obviously proud to represent the historical 45th Division. It's legendary, the history of it. And so the legislature each year takes an opportunity to welcome the new soldiers that have taken their time and resources to become part of our National Guard program. And so yesterday was an opportunity for us to not only honor those soldiers, but it was a very special moment in that State Senator Ivester from western Oklahoma was commissioned a lieutenant colonel. He moved up one rank and they did the actual pinning ceremony on the floor of the Oklahoma House, and that was a very special ceremony to watch that take place, and I'll be able to honor Senator Ivester.
Well, and obviously, when we say inventory, I think these are fighting men for us. Is that the case? Talk specifically about who these guys are and really what does it stand for Oklahoma?
Well, the thing that I've always been so impressed about the soldiers that serve in the National Guard across the country, but particularly in Oklahoma, is that these are individuals who take time out of their family and out of their careers to dedicate themselves to the defense of our country. A lot of people may not understand how the National Guard works, but these are not regular soldiers in that that's their full-time job. But when they're called upon to go to service, as they have in the last 6-7 years between Iraq and now Afghanistan, they always answer the call in a very professional manner. They leave their families behind and put themselves in harm's way. And I'm always honored to stand in the same building with our National Guard officers. But you know what makes them also unique? It's not just going over and defending us in a foreign country, but it's when disaster strikes. Tornadoes, earthquakes now in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I never thought we'd talk about that. But floods, for example. I mean, the National Guard are the ones that always first responders, so to speak, right behind the Red Cross and the local law enforcement and medical services. The National Guard's right there behind them. And so when we talk about the National Guard, it's more than just being a soldier. It's being someone who we can count on in our community to be there when a crisis strikes and when we truly need a neighbor to be there for us.
Well, in a newspaper article recently, I noticed that they were talking about a militia, actually a state militia. How would that differ from the National Guard?
Well, I was really surprised when I read that. I thought it was very almost contrast in differences. Here we have the opportunity to honor the National Guard, but one of the local state newspapers had a very detailed article about a militia, a state private militia, where people just kind of band together and protect themselves from the government. And I almost thought that was a slap in the face to our National Guard members that's their job. They are here to protect Oklahomans, to be there when a crisis occurs, and yet we've got some people out there on the fringe element that are talking about forming their own militia. So all that tells me is that you don't believe in our National Guard and you don't believe in those soldiers, and I don't think you support our soldiers who are volunteering their time to be a part of our National Guard program. I just was really taken by the fact that here we are honoring true heroes, and yet there was an article in the paper, and I'm not condemning the newspaper, it was a story they needed to run about people wanting to form their own militia. I'm concerned about where we may be headed.
Well, elaborate on that in the sense that a militia, a National Guard, and then regular soldiers, how do they all different, or what would be your concern with that if citizens within our state wanted to band together and create a militia?
Well, I don't mind people banding together for neighborhood watch programs and helping law enforcement, but when they start deciding that they're going to be the judge, jury, and the executioner, which some of these militia have become in other states. I noticed that the federal government just recently raided another militia camp because they were having some very anti-American tendencies. There was some concern by the federal government to say there's a problem here. They went in and took control of the situation. I mean, that's what the National Guard is here to do, is to protect us. And so I'm really concerned when people talk about militias. I mean, that was a place where Timothy McVeigh began his what appeared to be tremendous hatred for this country and took women, children, and just public servants trying to do their job on a daily basis, and it was tragic what Timothy McVeigh and that mindset did. I'm concerned, and I hope that we're not beginning to have that kind of mindset developed anywhere in Oklahoma, because if somebody says I'm going to stand up and defend myself, we all have the right to do that. The Second Amendment gives us the right to carry a firearm in the proper conditions, and I'm all for that, very supportive of that. But when we start banding together and say that we're better than the National Guard, because when we talk about National Guard, these are professionally trained soldiers, and they know when to make the decisions to pull the trigger, let's say, as larger ramifications as that have. These are professionally trained soldiers. I'm not sure militia are trained as well. I'm not sure that they are equipped to the same point that our National Guard is. But the way the story was written and the way that some people were quoted in the newspaper about they didn't trust the government, they didn't trust the soldier, I was very concerned about that.
Well, it's definitely an interesting topic. Up here with you, I know that it's dear to your heart. And how about with you? If you have questions, concerns, or just comments, how do they get a hold of you and talk to you about that?
Well, certainly, please look us up on the website. It's Danny Morgan at okhouse.gov, and our phone number is 405-557-7368. 557-7368. And I need to hear from our constituency base so we know that we're moving the state in the right direction.
Whether it be on this topic or any topic that concerns you. Representative Morgan, thank you very much, as always.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.